Hello everyone, I'm Angelo. I've been homeless in Northern Virginia for 4.5 months now. This whole last week I've been sleeping in a different place practically every night. Getting a little windy. I thought I'd film outside at night because it's evocative of the films I want to talk about. I'm going to talk the origins of my filmmaking dreams. And also I'm just filming late because I didn't get to this earlier. I want to talk about just, how I decided I want to be a director. And eventually wanted to be a writer as well. But that came much later, much more recently. It's 2019 now, if you're watching this later. But always when I was young, I loved movies. It was just something about it was like a drug. It just altered my state. I remember watching King Kong lots of times when I was young. What else? I saw movies like Bruce Lee movies. My dad would show me those, like Fists of Fury, which were kind of disturbing. Conan the Barbarian. Again, it was funny watching but I just took in the bizarreness and the otherworldly feeling of it. We had a black and white TV for a while, so I think I saw RoboCop 2 on a black and white TV, or I forget if it was I don't think it was the first one. I think it was the second one. When I was 5. I saw a lot of movies when I was very young. I didn't always like older ones. That was slower for me to acquire a taste for. But King Kong, I loved. What was it? The Incredible Shrinking Man. That was very, very primal and visceral for me. But I never thought I really wanted to make movies. There was a time when I thought maybe I could be an actor. That's what I would want to do. If I could do anything, that would be the biggest challenge I could do. And I went through phases of wanting to do different things. Wanted to be a professional wrestler, baseball player, basketball player, video game journalist, video game designer. None of that stuff ever stuck. None of it ever took. And eventually I just came to the point when I was 16 where I was watching so many movies over and over. And that's when DVDs were out. So then I was able to watch movies over and over in high quality. Because remember, before that, there were VHS tapes. We had VHS, but it was a big deal for me to get a DVD player with the PlayStation 2. So I saw, I would watch the special features on movies, and I would watch those so much over and over. And that's something that really got me interested in making movies. So first of all, I saw it on VHS. So the first movie I'll mention that got me wanting to be a director was Fight Club. But I saw that on VHS. I saw it when I was 15, and it was just it was one of the first experiences seeing a movie where it was I felt everything the director was saying was something I felt. And I didn't get that before. To me, movies before that were always about spectacle and big entertainment. And it was the first movie I could remember seeing where I was I'm totally engrossed by what's going on, and yet there's no bad guy, there's no villain. Normally I'm used to seeing a movie where a character wants to defeat a villain. Usually a villain wants to, conquer the world, or the villain killed the protagonist's parents or whatever. And this was the first time I didn't see that. Now, since then, many years later, I've learned screenplay analysis and really just learning about writing screenplays. There is an antagonist, of course, Tyler Durden, who's there, but he's not a villain in that he doesn't want to destroy. You know what I mean? He's not a villain in Speed that wants to kill people and destroy stuff. I was going to say he doesn't want to blow stuff up, but Tyler Durden kind of does. But that's sort of beside the point, because he's friends with the main character, the narrator, the whole time. And so that's very different. That was very different from what I was used to. By the time the movie was over, I was no, that could not happen. I was so shocked, but I was so satisfied. I'd never felt quite that satisfied about any experience before. It was I couldn't believe it. It was almost too good to be true, and I felt weird coming back to reality. I'm not supposed to, be back in in my ordinary world, going to school, because I was this was almost too good. It was I don't know how to describe it. It was just a very, very strange thing to think like, oh, I've got this secret thing other people don't know about. And it was funny, even 3 days later, I used to hang out at a video game store. Back then it might have been Electronics Boutique. Eventually it turned into a GameStop. But I used to hang out with the guys who worked there. That was like one of my favorite things to do. And I would like dust the shelves and they would give me a free t-shirt or something. But I asked the manager, I was like, hey, have you seen Fight Club? And he's like, yeah. And I said, man, that movie's weird. Like, that's all I could not process it. I didn't know movies could do that. It was so powerful and disturbing and scary, and it was like I'm a recharged person, and I got to somehow come back to earth and relate to people. But I didn't want to be a director yet. Other movies, there are 4 movies total, by the way. So maybe this movie will be the 4 movies that made me want to be a director. Fight Club was one. Another one, Dark City, from Alex Proyas, one of my favorite directors as well, and he wrote it along with, I think, now I can't remember his name, David Goyer. That movie, it's singular. It's another movie where first of all, when I saw it, I knew nothing about it other than a friend recommended it. It was a similar feeling to Fight Club, like, only this one, it was so much more compact in a way. Fight Club is so epic and sprawling and goes different directions, and I'm sort of like loving it just by talking about it. Even though I think there's a bad subculture that's sort of appropriated it for their own, negative, white male power fantasy message. I think it's very much like, it's really not that, but it leaves it there if you want to take the fascist message from it. To me, that's satirical. But it rides that line as close as possible to like give you the option of sorting through it. Dark City, to me, when I saw that, I was like, this is a perfect movie in that I thought this is the ideal type of what a movie is, in that you start the movie, you know nothing what's going on, and the protagonist knows nothing about what's going on. He wakes up in a bathtub in a hotel and he has amnesia. And so the movie is the process of him figuring out what the story is. And I thought that was so awesome. Like that, it was like beamed into my head, like my brain. I saw it so many times. I saw Fight Club so many times. Now, Dark City I saw on DVD. Crappy snapper case DVDs and dual-sided, so one side was like full screen, which don't ever bother watching that. And the other side was widescreen. Watch that so you get the full frame. Absolutely beautiful film. It was, again, like Fight Club. It was like one of the first times I felt everything the director was saying was something I could feel. And the powerful thing about that was, again, like a lot of movies, I didn't feel the director was saying anything. To me, it was just like spectacle. It was enjoyable. Granted, that's not really the case, and there was more I had to be able to see into films. But when I saw Dark City, that was one where it grabbed me, where I felt like the director was communicating directly to me. I saw it many times, and that one, the amazing thing about that too is the incredible set design, the mashup of architecture from like the 30s maybe or 40s to 60s, and cars and wardrobe costumes. Like, you're never quite sure, like, well, when is this taking place? And then, of course, it gets more deep but it's so, razor sharp. And by the end, the movie almost explodes the way, like, I was about to explode watching this. Like, I was bursting with, anticipation. Like, I cannot believe it. The use of quiet at certain points. The use of big, fantastic, loud, sort of I want to call them cityscapes, but like soundscapes, I guess I would say, the fullness of the sound. Anyways, so, and also, by the way, I want to mention, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are now known they got the score for best, or the Oscar for best score for The Social Network, David Fincher's 2010 movie, and for doing a very unusual electronic score. But David Fincher had been dabbling in that since Fight Club, or maybe you could even sort of consider Alien 3 doing that, even though he said the score was extremely rushed on that. And even Alien 3, as flawed as it is, before I even knew David Fincher directed it, I got the same feeling of satisfaction, almost like I was eating and breathing watching it, because I could tell there was an integrity to it. And I would get that feeling watching his commercials, and I would watch them over and over back when high-speed internet was still sort of just becoming accessible, and we finally got it at my parents' house, and I was able to find his, before YouTube, and just find his commercials and download them and analyze and find any fan sites I could for David Fincher and print out his pictures and learn every story I could about him and read every interview I could. So Dark City was the second one. And then Alex Proyas, by the way, also, he had a message board where you could interact with him that's now gone, but I would interact with him on there when I was 17. So that was so cool. I was so excited about that. He had some animated shows on there too that called, I forget what it, like some kind of multiverse thing where people, it was like a little like flash animation show that I don't think has ever been released anywhere else, of characters who are like teleporting through different universes, solving crime or something. It was pretty cool. And he had his early some of his short films on there as well, and commercials. So Fight Club, Dark City, another one. And there's really a couple more than this, but I'll keep it to 4. And since then, it's spiraled into many, many dozens of movies that have influenced me so much, especially Martin Scorsese's films. And Harold Lloyd's films. Sometimes I think, I wish we could see I wish movies didn't have talking, because his movies are perfect without talking. But third movie, A Simple Plan, directed by Sam Raimi, with Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton. Oh man, that movie is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. So perfect. It's about 3 friends in the woods. It's kind of, I don't know if this story, and it was a book, and it was adapted by the author of the book into a screenplay. I don't know if it was the first movie to do this or story. I kind of have to think no, because it seems like it's just something everybody, it's like primal, like everybody kind of intuitively knows this story of like a few friends going through the woods, finding hundreds of thousands or like $1 million abandoned apparently, and they find it in a small plane that's crashed, and they decide what to do with it. And they have to figure, the police might be looking for it. It might be drug money. Somebody might be looking for it. And how this money destroys their friendship. And how they have to, jealousy and fear and the possibility of getting caught. And the steps they have to take to avoid getting caught. And it's done with such, there's a physicality to it. Like the way everything propels the next step forward. And it's so scary because it all seems so plausible how good people can start doing horrible things because they need to make an instant decision as to whether they're going to preserve their own lives and keep that money, or they're going to get caught by the police and potentially, their lives ruined in prison. So A Simple Plan, just terrifying morality tale. And Sam Raimi does movies like morality tales a lot, where he like Drag Me to Hell even is like that. Spider-Man movies, where he's just somebody pulling up right next to me, where that like characters, if they do bad things, they usually get punished for them. So A Simple Plan is the third one, 1998 film, I think, and I think it got nominated for a few Oscars too. Not that I put too much stock in that. Fourth movie. And really, there's kind of fifth. I always thought I had 4 favorite movies when I was a teenager, but fourth one, the first anime I think I saw from Hayao Miyazaki. I almost said his name wrong. Hayao Miyazaki, which everybody loves him now, and thank goodness he's still around. Princess Mononoke. It's just, that's something again. It was just so beautiful and powerful and moving, and I saw it with the English dub, which was really good, even though sometimes it was a little awkward. Like when I put on subtitles, I'm like, oh, why'd they translate it like that? Like the certain part didn't make a little bit of sense, but anyways, the characters were so fascinating, compelling. I love that the villain was not truly an evil villain, Lady Eboshi. She has her mining colony where she has lepers who working for her, who she believes can be healed through mining something that's, disturbing this forest god, which it's this parable of environmentalism and greed and industrialization. And so she's destroying this forest and trying to make money, but also trying to cure lepers. And there was something else in there I can't remember, but I saw the movie many times, and I know that turned a lot of people on to anime because they thought of it as being this super weird, obscure genre that's like super gross out and stuff. Oh, I had seen a really violent anime when I was young, Geist, where it's like a robot guy in a mech suit or something crushed a guy's skull and his like sinews and blood and eyeballs come out of his hand. I saw that when I was a little kid. I saw Venus Wars. I saw all those Sci-Fi Channel animes that would play Saturday mornings. Vampire Hunter D was the big one. I loved that. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, by the way, I saw that when I was older. Man, that sucked. Akira I saw around when I was 16 or so. I liked it. I appreciated it. It's somebody somewhere, I think maybe it was Roger Ebert, described the plot as a jumbled mess. That's what I think of it too. But it is a beautiful movie. It's got moving stuff about it, and a lot of movies have been influenced by it, including The Matrix. You see the very clear influence on that. Also Ghost in the Shell probably influenced Matrix, and I saw Ghost in the Shell several times. Although it was kind of too cold and distant for me. I couldn't get into it. Ninja Scroll, never liked. I just thought it was so dull and just gross, kind of. Wings of Aniamis, that got decent reviews. I'd have to see it again. Maybe I'd enjoy it more, but I didn't enjoy it too much. I thought it was pretty dour and kind of depressing. I saw that on VHS too. Metropolis. Okay, I'm getting too much into anime. Metropolis, that's another one I thought was super weird. I was like, I didn't get into that, even though it's beautiful animation. Okay, so those are 4 movies: Fight Club, Dark City, A Simple Plan, and Princess Mononoke. But it was really, I think it was sort of, there was a period where I was watching the special features of Fight Club over and over. And again, this movie was like a drug that was like altering me, where it was like I had this secret knowledge or something of this amazing thing, where eventually it got to a point in me where I thought, if I could do anything, like, this is so perfect. If I could do anything, this is what I would do. And I still kind of denied it to myself. I was like, well, I don't know if I could ever actually do it. I'm sure I could not ever actually direct. That was the thing. This is a big difference. The difference between before and after I started making videos. When I was 17, I thought, well, I don't think I could ever actually do it. But I thought, okay, I'll try. I'll make some super goofy sketch with my brother. And back then it was shooting on a VHS camera. I couldn't edit or anything. And so you just had to shoot, stop, and that was what you had on camera. And had to time everything out. And if a shot didn't work, rewind the tape to where I was and shoot the shot again. But it was very influenced by Kids in the Hall, because that was another influence for me. I absolutely loved Kids in the Hall growing up. I saw it when I was very, very young. And then I saw it years later, and I was like, oh, this is a show I used to watch when I was a kid. Same thing with Whose Line Is It Anyway, the British episodes. I had jokes in my head from that show that I remembered for years, but I didn't know where I saw them from. And then I saw them as a teenager on reruns on Comedy Central. I was like, holy crap, that was the show I was watching. Same thing with Kids in the Hall. It was eerie. Because Kids in the Hall was a sketch comedy show from the 80s that influenced a lot of people. And they did film sketch segments. You can tell these guys, Dave Foley, Mark McKinney, Bruce McCulloch, Scott Thompson, really love film. And it was just, it was so good. And they play all the characters, basically. And they would dress up in drag a lot and play women characters. But anyways, it was so good. And so it influenced me a lot. So I shot short films kind of like that. And from there, I realized, like, okay, I can actually do this. And then from there, basically, I was just hooked. Although it was a long time before I got the courage to really start doing it. I took public access classes for video production. I did stuff with public access. Then I worked in a movie theater because I was thinking somehow I'll just be exposed to movies so much. And I did see a lot of movies there, although a lot of times I didn't because I was so tired. I couldn't watch. I didn't want to stick around and watch movies. And I thought I could be a projectionist just starting out. They don't let you start out as that. I was only a projectionist close to my last month or so at the job, which was really stressful, working in a movie theater, by the way. You should not rush out to see movies on opening weekend. I don't know what the obsession is with doing that. That's really not fair to the employees at theaters. And give movies a chance that don't have huge opening weekends. Excuse me. But since then, many, many other movies keep reinvigorating my interest in film. Everything, good, bad, doesn't matter. Even if it's a terrible movie and I just get one little thing from it, Since then, I've grown to love Martin Scorsese movies. Those have influenced me so much. They influenced my videography career in that I would cut videos kind of frenetically, the way he would his movies, like super fast cuts, alternating angles, like from one side of an actor to the other. I would sort of do that and sort of cheat it because I'm shooting live events and then cutting later. So cut back and forth, give the feeling of that, or do wipes back. Anyways, all this frenetic energy that I took from his movies. So many of his movies, I won't even bother listing them all. I've probably seen 10 or so of them, maybe more. Who else? Harold Lloyd's movies, absolutely love those. Love to make a silent film. I don't know how anyone can do them as well as he did. I was never as big a fan as Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. I enjoy their movies a lot, and I love Charlie Chaplin a lot. It just, for me, Harold Lloyd is the most accessible. To me, he's like just an ordinary guy who tries really, really hard to do stuff and succeeds through sheer determination and decency. Whereas Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, they're both outsiders and oddballs. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a reason people love them. They were geniuses. Just for me, they're not my personal style, but I don't believe that's a comment on them. And I don't think that means anything. I still love them. They were still pioneers and, like doing magic in film, and I think it's amazing any movie exists, really, because it's so hard to make them, and there's so much chaos involved and so many problems that come up and so much planning that needs to be done. I could list 100 other movies, but all through the last 100 years or so. M from Fritz Lang, Metropolis, The African Queen, Gone with the Wind, The Maltese Falcon, although really Treasure of the Sierra Madre I saw before The Maltese Falcon. And that influenced me a lot. Dodsworth, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and going to, 50s and 60s, The African Queen, did I mention that? A lot of John Huston movies. Army of Shadows from Jean-Pierre Melville, absolutely love that. That to me is just like another straight shot, to my imagination. A very brutal, bleak, stark story about the French resistance in World War II that is just, it's like, how do you deal with utter despair, like certainty of capture or death from the Nazis, and the dilemmas it poses to these people who are trying to fight them and have to show incredible courage against, overwhelming odds. And sometimes it's just luck that keeps them alive. Anyways, so many more. Indiana Jones movies I saw so many times when I was a kid as well. Raiders of the Lost Ark, that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Brain Donors I saw with John Turturro, and that was influenced a lot by silent films as well, although I didn't realize that till much later. The Terminator scared the living hell out of me when I was a kid. That's another movie I saw when I was young, and it's influenced me a lot, and it's still just always in my imagination. So anyways, there you have it. There's the origin of a film director, and that's kind of how I got to making stuff on YouTube. It's just, I wanted to make something, and I used to make short films on YouTube, and they mostly weren't good, but they were very admirable efforts. And then I started realizing my mom was funny, and I could make home videos instead of spending all this money and time on shooting short films, which I just thought would go viral. I was so depressed after each one. I was like, why didn't it go viral? I thought it would. Well, of course, now, it's reality has set in a lot since then. But anyways, if you're interested in filmmaking, hey, watch a lot of movies. Have that literacy in film. Read a lot about movies. Know the stories. If you talk to someone else who's interested in making movies, you'll impress them and energize them if you know a lot about movies. And if you can talk about them and ask them about them, always ask questions. Bounce ideas off people. I hate when I meet with a group of people and someone starts talking and they don't start introducing other people. And then ask them questions like, what'd you think of that? What did you think they did this that way or whatever? Or, why'd those two characters do this? Whatever, get people talking. I know that's a sort of a skill to learn, and it can be difficult, and really I credit Jordan Belfort's straight line persuasion with that. And the only reason I studied his system was because I saw The Wolf of Wall Street, which I actually didn't think was all that great. I thought it was kind of meandering and whatever. It's great energy and sort of great, in how powerful the sort of lesson is. I say lesson because it's like it leaves you to sort of determine what your lesson is from. But powerful in showing the utter grossness of the excesses and greed. But after I saw that movie, I was curious what Jordan Belfort was doing. I thought, oh, he must be washed up making $7.50 an hour now, and just hating his life. And it turns out he's really successful teaching his sales system. And that's when I started learning that over the next few years and just obsessed with it, because I was like, I want to be able to talk like that, like those people in the movie. I no longer want to be a wannabe, who just would like to know that skill. I want to actually learn that. And it was slowly, I started studying it over years, and it's changed my life. So anyways, movies keep on giving and giving. I'm going to go. I got a lot to do, and I got some more videos coming with my mom soon. And maybe she'll be in my movies someday too. I know she loves Goodfellas because Martin Scorsese put his mom in the movie, and she's making dinner for all these gangsters. Anyways, that's how I became a filmmaker. Thanks for watching, everybody. Watch a lot of movies, support smaller films. I just saw a documentary today, the Barkley Marathon. It's like the race that eats its young, or the marathon that eats its young. It's kind of a funny but touching documentary about an incredibly difficult marathon through 100 woods of hills and mountains in Tennessee, and why people do it, and it just pushes their body to the absolute limit. And Cold Comfort Farm I saw the other day with Kate Beckinsale, Ian McKellen, Stephen Fry, Rufus Sewell, a few others. And Rufus Sewell starred in Dark City, one of my favorite films. Anyways, keep watching, everybody. Like the video, subscribe for more. Bye.